It is the spring of my junior year at Howard University, and instead of studying for midterms, which I desperately need to be doing, I am getting ready to fly home to see my mom, and I'm dreading it for two reasons. The first reason is that my mom, who really is my best friend and always has been, and I have been butting heads lately. She is this high-powered public defender turned immigration attorney. She was the first Black woman to practice law in our hometown. And I just took 2 semesters of a class called Clown. She was a devout Catholic and raised me Catholic, and I had left the church. I was starting to come out as bisexual and non-binary, and had recently started going to Friday night services with my Jewish girlfriend of the time. And it was just a lot. And the second reason was that my mom was dying really quickly, and I was terrified that our last days together were going to be an argument. So I get to DCA and I tell myself the plan is that I will just tamp all of my feelings down and keep the peace, and she'll die and I'll deal with it in therapy later. And I get there and I see her, and she is emaciated, but her bottom half is retaining more fluid than should be possible. And all the fullness has left her face, and it's pulled down into this sort of permanent grimace. And I realize we are days away, and I realize that was a terrible plan. So a few days into the visit, we're talking cautiously about school, and then my friends, and then my girlfriend, and then going to services, and then maybe converting. And I'm like, I haven't even met this girl's parents yet. And things start to get a little heated, and she says to me, I feel like I tried so hard to teach you well, and you're just spitting it back in my face. And with a little more heat than I should have had for a dying woman, I said, if you were teaching me to be Catholic, you're right. I thought you were teaching me to love God and love my neighbor, and I am telling you that living like this, as honestly as I can, with my girlfriend and going to services and having some connection makes that easier. And I don't understand why you're not happy about that. And she says, well, of course I'm happy about that. And I go, okay. And she goes, okay. And we're both crying. And she says, you know, your grandmother thinks you won't come to the funeral because it's in a Catholic church. And I say, that's crazy. And she says, well, your grandmother is a little crazy. And then we're crying and laughing. And it seems like everything is okay, and I think we've done it. And in the Hallmark movie, the music would swell and a miracle would happen, and then it doesn't, and she dies anyway. So I decide I'll try to grieve her in a Catholic way, which, if you're not familiar, you say a mass, which is about 60 minutes of grief. And then everyone tells you how happy you should be that your mom is dead and in heaven. And then you push all your feelings down and then you die. And that's the whole process. And I remember one of the last things that she said to me was, I worry so much about you and I just want you to be okay. So I think, okay, well, that didn't work. I'll just pretend to be okay. I'll go back to school and fake it till I make it. It's my first Friday night service back, and I am a zombie. I'm in this plastic folding chair in the basement of the JCC, and the fluorescents are giving me a headache, and I don't want to be there. And I feel my girlfriend's hand on my shoulder, and I realize she's ushering me to stand up because it is time for Mourner's Kaddish, the morning prayer in a Friday night service. And I'm grieving a parent, so I'm supposed to stand. And so I stand and start to mumble through the prayer and realize I don't really know what I'm saying. And I look at the translation, and my heart just drops to my stomach. And it says, may God's name be exalted and sanctified in the world he created according to his will. And I just think the last thing that I want to do right now is exalt and sanctify God. Every time that I have to wake up in the morning and see that the world has continued turning and my mom is not in it and everyone's just going along, makes me feel like God is wiping his feet in my face. And if this is God's will, then maybe I hate God a little bit. And so now I'm gritting my teeth and I'm crying and I flop back in my plastic chair and I say, I'm never doing that again. After the service, my girlfriend is schmoozing and drinking apple juice and eating Costco cookies, and I am in the alcove in front of the elevator doors trying to literally become part of the wall, crawling out of my skin. And one of the congregation sort of elders who I talked to a lot, this old Southern queen in these cobalt blue resin glasses with matching penny loafers, comes over to check on me very gently and asks who I'm grieving for and how I'm doing, and I crack. And I sound not good. I just want everything to be normal again. I don't understand when anything is going to be normal again. I want people to stop talking to me like I'm made of glass, and I want the stink of dead mom to be off me, and I just want to go through my day like normal. When are things going to be normal? And he says, "Oh, kitten, nothing is going to be normal again for a very long time, and you're going to need to be okay not being okay for a while. But grieving in community is one of the queerest, most Jewish traditions you can be a part of. So you might want to give it a try." And as I'm walking home from the bus, I think, well, I tried the Catholic thing and that didn't work, and I tried faking it till I make it and that didn't work. So sure, let's give Judaism a try. I'll take anything at this point. And I decide at that point to say 10 months left of Kaddish for my mother. The tradition is to say 11 after the loss of a parent. So every Friday night, I meet up with Lily at the bus stop, and we walk to services, and the service goes like normal, and I stand for Mourner's Kaddish, and I cry in public, which is one of my worst fears, and then I sit back down, and I do it all again the next week. And the spring goes on, and it starts to get a little easier. And Lily and I start to drift apart and break up, and I wonder, am I going to keep doing this when I go home for the summer? But I realize every other day of the week, the grief is like lightning, and it is sudden, and it is electric, and lights fires, and I never know where it's going to strike or where it might come from. But on Friday, I've got a very clear ritual to know exactly where I'll be and who I'll be with and when I'm going to start crying. And it just makes the other 6 days a little bit more bearable. So I decide to keep going. I go back home, and now I'm at a new synagogue where I don't know anyone, and I bring the average age down like 30 years, and I wonder what's gonna happen, but the solace of it is the same. And so I keep going and keep going. And finally, it's the 11th month, and it's my last time standing. And I don't know what I thought was gonna happen. I think I thought like the sky would open and God would like come down and be like the grief would be sucked out of me and like, you did good, kid. And I stand and I pray and I cry and I sit down and nothing happens. And as I'm walking home, a little disappointed, I realize this is maybe exactly what my mother meant. Not, I need you to be okay in the way I am okay. And not, I need you to fake being okay. But maybe she meant, I need you to be okay not being okay every once in a while. And I realized this is the longest I've ever stuck with anything that wasn't convenient or comfortable. And I realized I can't stare down the barrel of forever without my mother. I don't know what that looks like, but I can make it 6 days until Friday. So it took 6 more years after that. But I did finally convert to Judaism year before last and still practice and have said Kaddish now for both of my grandfathers and find immense solace in it. And I'm okay not being okay and admitting it to a community of people for 1 hour a day, 1 day a week. Guys, I'm not okay, and I'm okay with that for now. And I think if my mom were here, she'd be really proud.